This video is all about how to run Office 365 add-ins as microservices on Docker containers. I'm Karthik Ramamurthy, Senior Consultant, Node.js developer and a DevOps enthusiast. In this video, we are going to see why we need Docker, what are the prerequisites to run Docker, go through some of the Docker components and commands, build a base image based out of Ubuntu and Node.js, and build a sample Office 365 microservices, and Dockerize it as a container, and how to publish this into Azure. Docker is an exciting new technology to build lightweight platform agnostic microservices which can be built, deployed, and continuously integrated very fast and scale very faster than the traditional virtual machines. Uh, Building a provider hosted apps or add-in on top of SharePoint is kind of requires a lot of additional infrastructure ahead before even building the app. In this video, we are going to see how Docker can help us to build the infrastructure in a very fast manner and simplistic management for it. Before jumping into this video demo, I recommend you to go through some of the basics of Docker from this link. If you go to docs.docker.com, you would see the various components involved with Docker and how to get started. So what are the prerequisites to build your own Docker environment? What you all need is a Windows 7 machine or above, or Mac OS or Linux, um, an Office 365 trial subscription, an Azure subscription, that is to run this Office 365 add-in, and a Visual Studio Code editor. You can use any IDE for that matter. So first step is go ahead and install Docker. Go to docs.docker.com/engine/installation windows. Make sure your machine have virtualization enabled before even starting this. For that, go to Task Manager. I'm using Windows 10 machine. Now go to Task Manager, Performance, and make sure the virtualization is enabled because this is one of the biggest prerequisites to run VirtualBox in your machine. So go ahead and install Docker. That will install JIT, VirtualBox, Docker host, Docker daemon, everything in your local machine. And all these are running on top of a Linux VM, running on your VirtualBox. So I already installed Docker Toolbox. Now I'm going to open it. Docker Quick Start Terminal, run as administrator. This will take few minutes for the initial run. Now the Docker daemon and Docker client is running on your local desktop, and make sure it have its own IP. You can see 192.100. So now the five main components of Docker are Docker images, Docker container, Docker daemon, Docker client, and Docker hub. Docker images are the blueprints of your application. This is not a running instance, just the your application in the sleep mode. And container is the running instance of your image. So you build your image, and if you run it, it is called as container. And Docker daemon is the software or the platform which builds, runs, and distributes the Docker containers. Docker clients is the IDE or CLI interface you'll be interacting with Docker, and Docker Hub is a public repository to store your Docker images, which is like hub.docker.com. So what are the few important Docker commands? We have Docker build to build your Docker application, Docker run to run your application, Docker search, Docker images, Docker remove image, Docker pull, Docker push, and Docker mission as to just to set a new Docker environment, or just to attach to a new Docker environment, and Docker attach to a different image. Now let's see how to create a basic Docker image, which just the core OS, core Ubuntu OS, and Node.js platform. For that, start with Docker search Ubuntu. This will list all the available images in the Docker Hub. So we have Ubuntu, official Ubuntu version, which have stars. So you can basically search based on the star ratings. If the image is more stable and the most used, you can trust that image and start doing this. So now we are going to run this image on your local machine. So to do so, let's start building a node Ubuntu base image. To do that, type docker run in the interactive mode -t Ubuntu, and you need to open bash command while when this opened. So what happens here is this will search for the local Ubuntu image. If it is there, it will launch it. If it is not there, it will go reach out to the Docker Hub and download the base Ubuntu core image into your local machine. So now let's run this. Now, since I have an image locally here, it just popped up. So now we are into the container. The container ID is 180. Now get out of this container and type docker ls docker images. This would list the images. So we have Ubuntu image and the app which I built holder. Now let me go ahead and delete the image which we are eventually built. Docker, just make sure none of the container is running. I'm running docker ps, so none of the container is running. Now to delete the image, docker rmi and give the image id. So image id is we first give the first 5 letters, that is sufficient. I think this image is referenced by a docker container which is in sleep mode, so let me kill it completely. Docker. Now to remove it, just make sure you are running docker stop docker ps all the images and quit. Okay, now all the containers are stopped. Now just remove it. Docker. Okay, now all the images, all the containers are removed. Now if I look at the Docker images, we have Ubuntu and one more image. Now go ahead and remove the image. Docker rmi 958. Okay, now we have everything removed. Now let's run the base Ubuntu image we created and start the process. Docker run the ubuntu dot bin dot bash. Okay, now we are into the Ubuntu container. Now run an apt-get update and install npm and node.js. To do that, do type apt-get update. This will take few minutes to install the latest patches on your Ubuntu image. Once that is complete, install Node.js. And install Node.js legacy. Now we have the container with Node.js installed. Now let's go ahead and test the build a Node.js microservice uh, based Office 365 add-in. So for this, I'm going to use the sample project which is available in Office Dev called Office 365 Node.js Microsoft Graph Connect. I'm going to use this sample to build an as a Node.js application. So I already forked it. Now I'm just clone this uh, whole piece, copy it, go to the Docker terminal. As I said before, Docker comes with Git installed, so you don't need to worry about installing anything here. So I'm doing Git clone Office, no Git. So this will install, this will pull down all the folders. Now I'm going to uh, Office 365 and Docker ls. Okay, now I'm going to build this app and make sure it is running fine on your local machine. So for that, do an npm install. This will take a few minutes and install all the required libraries, npm libraries in your local folder. So once you get your npm and everything installed, you do npm start, and this would launch the website on your local machine. So I'm going to local host 3000. Okay, so since I already logged in, I'm going to log out and use the new browser. So localhost 3000. Now you have your sample Node.js application running. You can quickly test this, connect to Office 365 and log in using your credentials. uh, yes, so you get this error, the reply address is different, so I'm going to fix this now. Your Office 365, to run this app, you just need to you need a couple of manual changes here. So you go to this auth and make sure your client ID, client secret, and your local host, all these three things are there, and go to the app. So as I said, we need to make a couple of changes. In the Azure Active Directory app configuration, you need to key in the sign in URL and reply URL and app ID URI. Then in the source code, you need to key in the credentials and redirect URI here, and this both should match. I had this issue, now it is fixed, so I have this error. Now I fixed it, so I'm running this npm start again. Okay, I'm going to check the app again. Connect to Office 365. Sign in as admin. Okay, now you are connected. You can test this quickly by clicking send the email. Once the email is sent, you will get a quick message, successfully sent email. You can log into Outlook and check as well. So now we have the microservices running and working fine. Now let's understand how to port this to your local Docker container. Now, before adding the my Office 365 microservice, let's commit the base image, Node.js base image. To do that, run docker commit dash a. We don't need author for now. The container ID. Let's get the container ID first. PSA. So the container ID starts with 5id docker commit dash a. uh, 5id, and the image name is Node.js base version 0.1. Okay, now this is get committed. To verify this, run docker images. Okay, so we have an Ubuntu image now and a Node.js base image now. Now let's see how to attach our microservices to Node.js base image. To do this, run. Now, if you look at this, building each and every step from the command prompt is kind of taking a bit of time, and it is not always efficient. So what we are going to do now is create a Docker file and build the whole thing using the Docker file. So I already have this Docker file in place. Now I'm going to go through each and every step of what is happening there. So right now I'm in the GitHub Office 365 on Docker folder. Do an ls. So now open the Docker file. Okay. Now you see the first line indicates you are pulling the latest Ubuntu image, which we did. So the Docker file have a very simple syntax, and it is very easy to follow. So instead of doing everything from the command prompt and building each and everything, we can just use the Docker file and put everything in a script and run it. So to do that, first pull the image, latest image from Ubuntu Docker, and add a maintainer name for the script just as a best practice. Now run apt-get update and apt-get install uh, so to prepare the node base node.js image. This we already did before. Now to start with the packaging the microservice which we built in the which we built before in this Docker container, copy just a package.json to your Docker container. So if you run the script at this point, you would be inside the Docker container, and from the working directory, you copy this to a source directory. This will create a directory called source and put the package.json and run change the directory to source and run the npm install. This would install all the packages whatever required in the package.json to this here. Now now copy the source directory. Now copy the all the files to the source directory. So from we are running from the local folder and copying all the files here. Why we are doing this? Because uh, every time when you made a code change to the whole application, you don't want to run the npm install every time. So it is always better whenever the package.json is changed, you need to run the npm install. So we are just copying the source code later. Now change the working directory to source directory and run the command npm start. So this is all we need to port your npm application to this. So now let's to build this. First, you need to build the Docker file and build the image. To do that, run docker build dash t and give it a name. Office 365 add-in and Docker. It should be in this format. It should have alphanumeric value and the dash in between, and give the version number as well. And Where it should find the local Docker file, give the Docker file location. So that is in the present working directory. Now, if you run this, this would this would go through each and every step. So the first step, it is getting the Ubuntu latest image, running the apt-get update, and it would do the other functions as well, copying the package JSON, running the Node.js, and running the app. Everything would be done in this step. Now the container is created on the local machine. It is built and it is ready to run. So to do that, to run this, type docker run run as a daemon, which means it runs on the background, and give the port number. Uh, Port number should be in host port and the container port format. So port 80 is the host port, and Office 360 and 3000 is the microservice port. So we are just mapping so that the local port can be accessed from the host port. And give the Docker container name, Office 365 addin Docker 0.1. Oops, Docker images. Sorry, there is a typo. Okay, now this is running. Now we need to change the IP. So the Docker image is running in Docker IP. So as I said before, each Docker image have its Docker engine have its own IP. To get the IP of the current Docker machine, do Docker machine IP, and give the first type all the Docker machines. Okay, so the Docker machine name is default. To get the IP of this machine, do Docker IP default. Okay, so this is the Docker IP now. Now go ahead into your mm, Office 360 app and update the return URLs. So I'm here. This should be this, and port should be 80. Save it. Still the application would not work because the microservices still have its local IP. So the return URL should be changed there. So what I do here is uh, I go to the source code and change that as well. So ls vi auth helper.js and change this to it's 192.168.99. Okay. So let us verify it again. Okay, now this is changed. Now go ahead and rebuild the application again. Docker build. So you can see now the application is ran very quickly because we don't need to build any of the Node.js packages. Now go ahead and run the application. Okay, still we have our Docker Office 365 image. Now I'm running this. Now I'm running Docker run DP port 80 Office 365 add-in. Okay, now it is all working fine. Now if I go to the browser and type http 192-100, yeah, it goes to the app which is dockerized. It is running from our Docker container which we just launched. You can do a quick test by logging into that and make sure the services are working all right. Come on. Okay, now we are logged in. Click send email. It would take a minute and type email file. So what we did now is so far what we did is we 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 build a base image and we build a microservice on the I mean on our development instance and added the particular microservice to the Ubuntu base image and we added the a microservice as a layer to the base Node.js container and we launched that container from the Docker. So this is kind of a microservice running in your local instance. Now if you look at the very important thing here, each and every layer of this microservice is kind of available to you to make changes and email as well. Now 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 since we are running this in the local machine, now we are going to see how to port this to public cloud such as Azure. This is basically a three-step process to publish this microservice to Azure. First, you need to create an SSL search using OpenSSL and upload this search file into Azure, and so that your Docker client makes a connection to Azure. And using the certificate, you can create your Docker containers in Azure. So let's start with creating the certificates. So now we are in the Office 365 and Docker folder. Go to create a folder called certs. Go to certs and run the following scripts. So the first will create a .pem file using OpenSSL. You give your country code, state name, city name, company, GSI, development, common name, Docker demo. The email addresses. Okay, now this created a PEM file. Now export it as a cert file. Okay, now this is generated as a cert file. Now upload this to your Office 360, I mean, sorry, Azure. So here I'm going to my Azure subscription. Uh, go to settings, manage certificates, and upload the certificate. So I already uploaded the certificate, and note down the subscription ID as well. Once you have these things, you can now you are ready to create your Azure thing. So if I go to virtual machines, I just have 3 virtual instances. Now if I run the script, this will create a new instance and put Docker and everything there. So the script is Docker machine create dash the Azure subscription ID and subscription subscription cert Office 365 perm and Azure location is TCUS, and finally give the name Office 365 on Docker. And click enter. Okay. Now this is creating an Azure a machine in Azure, Docker containers in Azure, and I install. This will create a Linux VM in Azure and Docker and everything, and you can just manage your container in Azure from here. I'm going to show how to do it. So before that, you just make sure you are updating the new URL in your apps. So I'm going to Active Directory campus of applications. Docker demo configure Office 365 and Docker on cloud app.net. Cloud app.net. Save it and make sure you are okay. Once that is done, make sure your source code is updated as well. We can see the new instance which is created. If I go to virtual machines and click refresh, yeah, I can see a new instance called Office 365 on Docker is created. I can see it is a basic virtual machines with 1.7 gigs of RAM, very cheap. Uh, and you just need to ensure you are opening uh, an endpoint or HTTP. Still it is installing. I'm just added an endpoint so that port 80 is accessible outside. Now this completed provisioning on VM and Docker container. Now, now run Docker mission ls. You can see yeah, new Office 365 Docker environment is listed here. So to connect to this, just make sure everything is working fine. So to do this, Docker mission environment Office 365 Docker. Okay. So to connect to this, you need to run eval C program files environment Office 365 and Docker. For some reason, there are some escaping space values here, so you need to write this in slightly different format. So I copy this, put it here, and add. Okay, now we are in the business. Now if you run docker ls, you can see you are now connected to Azure. Okay, great. Now go back to your old folder. Make sure you are in the root folder, and now run the build the Docker container like we did before in our local Docker image. This will take few minutes to build out the Docker packages and VM packages and everything in the Azure container. Okay, now the whole process of building a Node.js base image, including microservices, building npm package, everything is completed on the Azure end. Now let's go ahead and run this image. So now we already made changes to the app configuration as well as the microservices. Now go ahead and run docker run dash d port. We are opening 80 on the Azure machine as well. We already added it in the Azure permission and Office 365 and Docker 0.1. Okay, now we are on business. So Docker, if I do Docker, yes, I see the Docker image is running, and if I do Docker images, I can see the latest image is pulled, and it's roughly around 450 meg. Now to check this, let me log into HTTP Office. Go to cloudapp.net. Excellent. We are connecting to the Docker running in Azure. Go to Office 365, login, send email. Wow, it's perfect and it's pretty fast since it is hosted in Azure and it is very close to my Office 365 demo tenant. So to recap, what we did here is We understood why we need Docker and how to install Docker and some of the basic operations in Docker. Then how to build a base image of Node.js and Ubuntu, and how to build a Office 365 based Node.js microservice. How to add Dockerize your microservice. Then how to deploy it in your local Docker container. Then how to push it to public cloud service such as Azure. So one of the main advantages of using the Docker is your DevOps lifecycle and continuous management would be much simpler now. So if you are making a particular code change, it takes maybe a minute to deploy from dev to prod. And you can all manage this to your CLI, the Docker CLI running on your own instance, and you can connect it back and forth from your dev instance to your production instance in just a single command of Docker mission environment. So hope you enjoyed this and it would be helpful. And if you have any doubts, you can tweet me at spbreed. So you can reach out. Sorry, you can reach out to me at spbreed. Thank you.